We are continuing to chug away at the question, who is the best wrestler in WWE today? This is the 10th video in the series where we got a big old spinner wheel with the name of every wrestler in WWE. Spin it, get a wrestler at random, blind rank them on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the best, 10 being the worst. Hopefully we don't screw up our top 10 list. We always do 100% of the time, and we have to go through and make some changes at the end to figure out who is the best wrestler out of those 10 randomly selected wrestlers. In episode 1, the list is so long now, I have to write them down on my phone. Episode 1, we had Finn Balor, then LA Knight, Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre in an absolute blowout, Io Sky in a real tough fought battle, Kevin Owens upsetting people like Becky and Roman, and in the last video, Jacob Fatu moving on to the finals. In this video, we're adding one more name as the list starts to get shorter and shorter. If you guys like the series, make sure you've gone back and watched the other parts so you can see some of my thoughts on the current landscape of WWE. Leave a comment down below with what you think of this video, whoever the eventual winner is, and the positions that I put people on in this list. While you're there, subscribe, leave a like, all the stuff that really helps a new channel like mine to succeed. Having said all of that, I'd like to thank you guys so much for watching. I am Isaiah from Hot Tag Wrestling, and let's get into it by spinning that wheel. All right, we are getting down to it. Only 40 names left on the list. Still some big hitters on there, though, that we could have come up in this run. Let's see who we get first. Looks like we're starting off with Ricky Saints. Now, Ricky is an interesting one to have come up first because he's really hit or miss, in my opinion. He can be really good on the mic, but also a lot of the stuff he can do can come off as cliched or phony at points and more like he's putting on an act than being a genuine person in front of me. And same with his wrestling, really hit or miss. I've seen him have some great matches. I've seen him have some not so great matches. In NXT, he hasn't done anything really to the caliber of what he had done in AEW. So he's a little bit lower on my radar as a result. Still really good, though. One of the standouts in NXT right now. And obviously a lot of potential, a lot of natural charisma. I'm going to throw him at number 5 just because I'm a little bit more hit or miss on him than other people. And even when he delivers, in my opinion, it's more because he's in a program with someone that is great and that will let pretty much anyone succeed rather than him succeeding on his own merit. So 5, I feel, is an appropriate position for him. Logan Paul. So obviously I don't like Logan Paul. I don't know of anyone who really does. As a wrestler, very good, but it's hard to judge him really as a wrestler because is he putting in great performances based on his own merit, or are his things so choreographed and so practiced and he does them so infrequently that he's able to succeed on that front because it's so practiced? Like, could he go there every night on a house show and just have a great match with anyone? I don't think he necessarily could. I think, honestly, I would put him in the same ballpark as I would Ricky Saints. So do I put him higher or lower on this list? I'm going to put him lower. I'm going to put him at number 6. Just because he's not a very nice human. So I'm okay with that. Good for what he is, but doesn't really make you think that he has like that natural greatness in him. Solo Sikoa. Now, Solo is okay in most regards. If we're talking before WrestleMania, I would probably rank him lower than I'm going to. Mainly because after WrestleMania, he started to really incorporate a lot more comedy into his act, and I feel that's really helped him to succeed. He was my favorite part of the men's Money in the Bank match this year, and his feud with Jacob Fatu, even though the matches haven't been great, he's been really entertaining in them. So the Solo stock has definitely risen in my eyes over the course of 2025. So I got Ricky at 5, Logan at 6. Solo, once again, I think is right there with them. Like, I would put him at 5 if that was still open, same as Ricky or Logan. If 5 was open, I probably would have put Logan there, honestly. So do I put him at 4 or do I put him at 7? I'm gonna put him. It's tough because I putting him at 4, I feel like it's a little bit too high because honestly, in ring, there's not really been anything that I've ever been too fond of from him. Probably the my favorite performance of his outside of the Money in the Bank ladder match this year was at SummerSlam last year when he faced Cody Rhodes. A lot of people didn't like that match. I really did. Um but there's just not, outside of his comedy, not a ton to love. So I'm gonna put him at 7. I'm gonna be a little conservative and keep the top of my list open, and I'm gonna put Solo at 7. All right, let's see who else we can get. Hopefully, we get a big hitter soon that we can put in the number 1 or 2 position. Elton Prince. That is not a big name. Um, we put his partner at number 9, I believe, in a previous video, and I'm going to skip all of the formalities and just stick him at 9 as well. Like I said in previous videos, I won't go over the entire thing again, but not a huge fan of Pretty Deadly. Comedy act, never really seen anything great out of them. If you want my full thoughts on them, check out the previous video or 2 videos ago when I talk about Pretty Deadly on this list. I really like Aleister Black. He gets a lot of criticism online for sort of being too full of himself, not taking losses as much as he should. But I think he's great in the ring. I do think that his sort of mystical persona threatens to be over the edge sometimes, but honestly, I don't see it moving that way too much. I think he does a really good job about measuring his mysticism, I guess is the word, with everything else, with like a more grounded striking grappling game. I think he's a phenomenal wrestler. I didn't see too much of him as Tommy End, but I loved the stuff I did see. I saw he had a great match in, I think it was like Bola 2016 or 2017 PWG against Zack Sabre Jr. NXT great, AEW great, and he's probably from the names that have returned under Triple H's regime, like Johnny Gargano, like Andrade and Rusev. He's the one who probably most succeeded, in my opinion. Not that he's done anything of significance, really, but just he's sort of had the best matches in the return. But honestly, in WWE, he hasn't really done anything of significance. I think he makes the most out of what he's given, but in terms of actually being great, I don't know if we've seen anything out of him in 2025. He's not going at number 1. That's for sure. It's 2 or 3 in my opinion. Um, oh man, you know what? All time Aleister Black 2, 2025 Aleister Black 3. So I'm putting him at 3. Just because the booking isn't really there to back him up this year. So I think 3 is an appropriate spot for him. We still got 1, 2, and 4 open, as well as 8 and 10. Let's see. Akira Tozawa. I'll put him at 8. I've been watching the Cruiserweight Classic back recently, and Akira Tozawa is a fantastic wrestler, or at least he was back, in his time in 205 Live in the Cruiserweight division. Fantastic wrestler. And now he is sort of this lower card comedy act, which, he's fine in, but I can't put him anywhere higher than 8 as a result. Like, even though I have that sort of engagement with him from his time at 205 Live, he just doesn't do anything of significance on TV this year. The reason I put him at 8 instead of 10 is because he is successful in that role of sort of being the jobber, where he can sometimes get offense and make it look very realistic, but most of the time does a really good job about just getting the hell beat out of him by, Rusev or whoever needs to beat him up that day. So effective in his role. It's a role I would prefer him not to have. BFAB, 1, 2, 4, or 10. That's a 10 for me. I don't really like BFAB. Um, I think she's a pretty weak wrestler. She's never really put it together in the ring for me, in my opinion. Um, yeah, there's just never really been anything I've seen out of BFAB to make me like her. When she was part of Hit Row, I felt that, even with um, whoever AJ Francis, Top Dollar, even with Top Dollar in the group, I still think she was the weakest part, and I think that says a lot about her. And even in the U.S. title picture scene, never really done anything of significance. Eric's name just blew up there. Now we're starting to see some of the names go. 1, 2, 4. Not a ton of greatness on this list so far. So I'm hoping we get someone great. You just have to put it out there, and it'll come. Stephanie Vicaire. Um, So honestly, I love Stephanie Vicaire, but I'm probably not as high as her on most people. I think she's absolutely great, but some people seem to think that like she's like the second coming of Christ or something, that she is like the future of the women's division. And while I do think she has the most promise out of a lot of new talents, sometimes her matches are a little bit sloppy, but that's only really in segments. That's very much a nitpick on my part. I feel like one thing I love about Stephanie is her sort of doled back nature. It reminds me of Chris Jericho from 2008 and why that character was so successful. Of she just doesn't emote a lot. She doesn't react, and it really makes her always seem in control, so that at those moments when she does start to show some expression, you can really tell she's in trouble. The lack of emotion she shows leads to more drama in her big matches. And in terms of her in ring, I would say about 90% of the time she really knocks it out of the park. There is that 10% though where it's still a little bit meh, a little bit iffy. Um minor criticism though. So here's the thing. She's going 1 or 2. Um Based on the quality of this list, I'm inclined to put her at 1. I am going to put her at 1. I'm going to put Stephanie Vicaire at 1. She's just got this charisma about her and this star aura, and it's sort of refreshing to see someone come up from NXT and instantly be taken as a star, like not have to go up through the mid-card division like Lyra and Roxanne are doing. She came in and she is a star from day one, and I gotta respect that. That is due to her charisma and her ability to form a connection with the fans. So that's why she goes that high. Sheamus. Sheamus could have probably been number 1 too. He's going number 2, Sheamus. I love Sheamus. You know, more recently, I love Sheamus, and I think that Sheamus sort of has the opposite of The Miz and Natalia that we talked about in previous videos, where they come out and they've had such a long history of being boring that you sort of just huff and are upset that they're out there. Sheamus sort of has the opposite, where he had a long history of being mistreated by booking a lot, but really finding the best within that. Being booked in the title picture too early, beating Bryan Danielson, being Roman Reigns' nemesis, then being in the bar. Like, even though the bar actually did eventually turn out to be great. There's so many times when booking, set him up to fail, but he was consistently having really good matches and doing really good character work. And ever since 2020, he's just had this really great connection with the fans, sort of being now one of the legacy baby faces in the company. And he has a lot of great matches. His style of match, I really love the brawling style. I think can work a lot of the times. No, I shouldn't even say a lot of the time, because actually a lot of the time it doesn't work when you were just doing generic brawling, going in the crowd, doing just strikes. There's a lot of people who can't make that work, but Sheamus does make it work every time. So really good to have him on the list. Good contender to get in there real late. And let's see who's going to be our number 4. Hopefully we don't get anyone too crazy to put there. Oh, Seth. Interesting. Well, I'm putting him at number 4. Seth is a tough one, man, because booked so strongly, given so many opportunities to succeed. And a lot of the time he does. He can have great matches in WWE, but he has a WWE great match where a lot of his offense is slower. His strikes aren't particularly impactful, but he has really nailed down the format to build to a crescendo by the end of the match. That really gets the crowd going. I always think back to the beginning of this year. He had an Elimination Chamber qualifying match with Finn Balor on Raw that was just such a banger match out of nowhere. And I was so impressed by it, and it really, really made me high on Seth Rollins. Of He is a guy who can bust out a great match, but a great Seth Rollins match compared to a great Zack Sabre Jr. match, a great Will Ospreay match, a great Kenny Omega match, it just doesn't hold a candle. He is great for WWE because WWE work rate is often less than the rest of the industry because they primarily focus on character and pomp and circumstance over great in-ring action. In my opinion, that's not 100% true, 100% of the time. Um, but I feel like Seth Rollins very much ties into that, where he focuses on some of the pomp and circumstance and the story beats over the in-ring action. And though he can build a great match, his dives look weak, his knees look weak, his strikes aren't anything to really come up for. Um, but he is able to have that great structure of a match that sucks a crowd in to what he is doing. All right, so let's go through and make some adjustments now. BFAB, Elton Prince, and Akira Tozawa at 10, 9, and 8. Happy with it. Good to stick with them. 7, 6, and 5. Solo Sikoa, Logan Paul, Ricky Saints. I'm happy with that order as well. I honestly feel like they're all pretty much on par for each other. I feel like Sikoa is the worst wrestler of the bunch, so I'm okay putting him the lowest. And Logan Paul I just don't like very much, so I'll put Ricky Saints above him. Then our top four, we have Seth Rollins at 4, Aleister Black at 3, Sheamus at 2, Stephanie Vaquer at 1. This is tough, man. We got a lot of really good names right at the end. Initially, you would think Seth Rollins automatically jumps to number 1 just because of how strongly he's booked, how many main event spots he's given. That leads to him having more time on television shows, more pay-per-view time, just the things that generally help a wrestler to succeed. But honestly, I don't think I'm going to put him at number 1 because um, he a lot of times when I'm watching him cut a promo, I'm so uninvested in what he's talking about. I don't necessarily think the vision is the best thing in wrestling in 2025 like it should be. I think his matches, more often than not, hit, but they don't really. I'm not really excited to see Seth Rollins because I don't know. I just don't love his working style. Like I said, he can build a great match, but I just feel like there's so many more people. Like I feel like if we look at Sheamus and Stephanie, they can do the same thing, but I'm also excited for them as characters to see them on screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap Seth and Aleister. Aleister's going down to 4th, Seth is going up to 3. And then I am going to keep Sheamus and Stephanie at my top 2 above Seth Rollins. It feels weird to put Seth at 3 under Stephanie and Sheamus. But I just think Seth really clicks for me 50% of the time. And as a result, I can't put him in that top tier of greatness. So I feel 3 is appropriate for him for that reason. Yeah. I think I've made my case well that, his promos this year haven't been great. The stuff with the Vision has been pretty boring and repetitive. He is very good in the ring more often than not, but the stories often don't click. The character doesn't click. I can't really get invested in him as a top heel or a top babyface because I just don't really believe in him as like an ass kicker or a street tough, which is a lot of times how he's presented. So I think 3 is appropriate. So now the question we have to ask is, does Sheamus or does Stephanie move on to the finals? The reason that I'm nervous about saying Stephanie goes on in the first place is because she's sort of, and I don't, this sounds derogatory and this sounds like an insult. She's sort of like the flavor of the week. And that doesn't mean that she's a flash in the pan and she's not going to succeed for a long time in WWE. It's just that she's very new. And as a result, I think I'm looking on her more fondly than I would if she had the legacy that Sheamus has in the company. And Sheamus still being someone I'm very excited to see wrestle, and someone who I can still get invested in as a character after so long, is something that should really be respected. So do I go Sheamus or do I go Stephanie? You know what I think I'm going to do? Uh, Ultimately, I am looking at who is the best wrestler in WWE in 2025. And if we are looking at character, if we're looking at connection with the audience, reactions they get when they come out, taken more seriously in booking, I think Stephanie is the one that would go ahead. I think generally they can have the same quality of match, and I'm equally excited to see them both on screen. But I think it is Stephanie that's going to move on. A barometer that I use for wrestling a lot, whether I think a wrestler is actually clicking with the audience, is what does my wife say about that wrestler? Because she loves EO, she loves Rhea, she loves Drew, she loves Punk, and she loves Stephanie. But I don't think she's ever really taken an interest in Sheamus whatsoever. She just likes him because he's that guy who has bright red hair and is really white and looks sort of funny. But she really does form a connection with Stephanie because Stephanie has that natural charisma, that natural connection with the audience. Whenever her music starts playing, big pop for her. There's so much to love about Stephanie that I just don't feel is there for Sheamus at the moment. If he was taken a little bit more seriously and put into an IC title program or maybe made a mid-card champion again, then I could very much see Sheamus getting those reactions again. But as it stands, I feel like Stephanie is just a hotter commodity in 2025 than Sheamus is. And that's the only reason that she is going to stay at number 1 and go ahead, is because right now she's more exciting. She has a better connection with the audience, and I feel like she just has bigger moments, bigger pops, bigger matches in her than Sheamus does at this point in his career. All the love to Sheamus. Absolutely could be a top contender on one of these lists if Stephanie didn't come up an easy number 1 on this list. But Stephanie's just hot at the moment, and when they're pretty much equal in every other department, that is going to be the factor that pushes her over the line to go to the finals. Stephanie Vaquera narrowly beats out Sheamus to go to the finals, but she has some stiff competition in there. As said at the beginning of the video, she's joining Jacob Fatu, Kevin Owens, Io Sky, Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, LA Knight, and Finn Balor in the finals, where we will determine who is the best wrestler in WWE. Now, we still got a few more videos before we get there, a few more people to add on, but I want to know what you guys thought of this video. Did Stephanie deserve to go to the finals over Sheamus and over Seth Rollins, who I feel is going to be a controversial pick to put in 3rd place? Let me know down in the comments below. Let me know the order you would have ranked people in this video in the comments down below. While you're there, subscribe, like, all the stuff that really, really does help a new channel like mine to succeed. More parts coming out of this series in the future, so keep your eyes open for those. Thank you guys so much for watching this video and all the continued support. I am Isaiah from Hot Tag Wrestling, and I will see you next time.